Hey guys, we have some pretty epic astrology playing out this weekend. Some of the biggest astrology that I have seen come together in quite a while, and this really is some life-changing stuff. Definitely the main event, the highlight of the summer, perhaps actually energetically like of this entire 2023 year. We have a grand cross and cardinal signs playing out at 29 degrees. I have been talking about this energy for the past couple days. We're going to be talking about it for the next several days, but this is bringing us to the point of no return in one area of our lives or another. This is bringing us to the verge of some new beginning, some brand new fresh start. There are going to be some challenges or some opposition or some obstruction that we may need to overcome or persevere through in order to really like unleash these new beginnings in our lives. But we have come to that crux moment, you guys. We are at the crossroads, and it is time for some type of breakthrough to happen to start moving us forward in some way. There are going to probably be issues related to the past coming up this weekend as well. Things to do with closure, things to do with unfinished business. We have Venus stationing retrograde in the sky, actually an aspect to the nodes as well. We also have Mars and Saturn in an opposition exactly on Friday to start our weekend as well, with the moon in Virgo in a conjunction to Mars. Power struggles, again, opposition, blockage to our ability to move forward, but also coming to a point where we are no longer willing to hold back. Lots of astrology to talk about, you guys. There's so much going on this weekend. Let's get into it. Let's look at this energy. Let's, kind of boil it down to, refine it down to its like purest form, and see perhaps what things might be looking like for us as we go through this energy this weekend. Welcome back to my channel, you guys. Today is Friday, July 21st, 2023. My name is Aubrey. This is your astrological outlook of the weekend, where we are narrating the shift of the ages, and it is a weekend in the context of our shift of ages. Of course, on this channel, what we are doing is we are looking at the astrology as it's happening on a day-to-day basis, analyzing the transits and the aspects and how they might be, impacting life on the ground for us and our experience. However, we are also looking at how these subtle changes, or not so subtle changes as was being implied and indicated this weekend, are actually creating this greater ripple effect that over time is helping us to transform and to transmute our own frequencies to resonate with the frequencies of the incoming age of Aquarius. Actually, that is how humanity plays our role in helping to both usher in and create the age of Aquarius through becoming conduits for this new frequency that represents the age of Aquarius, as we align ourselves to that which is coming in. As above, so below. And we're talking about it on this channel. And this weekend, like I said, this is kind of the main event of the summer, the way I see it. This really is sort of like the energetic focal point or the energetic highlight. One of the main chapters in our year, I guess we could say, in the context of this transition into the age of Aquarius, because the energy that this is inducing sort of like collectively within us, within humanity now, is really helping us to step more into a sense of internal authority and self-mastery that will very, very much facilitate our process of becoming the vessels for this new frequency that is helping to anchor in this new age that is pending. Of course, the transition into any age, this is not something that, we're in one age and then like we go to bed and then we wake up one day and we're like in this new age. No, there's multi-100-year buffer periods in between ages while the frequencies shift. But we've been in this process for quite a while now, and we are really moving more towards tipping the scales at this point in time, even though it's kind of hard to perceive in terms of, if you are just looking with your human 3D eyes at what's sort of going on in the world, you may not be able to necessarily detect that. But really, truly, like on an energy frequency based level, we are coming to a point where I feel like, in my opinion, it seems as though on an energetic level, we're tipping the scales towards these more elevated frequencies that are coming in, and they're going to begin to build and accumulate more rapidly. And I do, moving forward from this point in time as well throughout the rest of this year, moving into 2024, which is going to be a year very much about self-empowerment. And like I said, to me, where we're at right now is very representative of us sort of entering our personal leadership era. Okay, that I haven't decided exactly what I'm going to refer to this transit of the nodes through Aries and Libra as, because the last transit, the one that we're coming out of right now, I was referring to that as a karmic detox, because I felt like that was the best way to sort of explain the impact of the nodal transit of the North Node through Taurus, South Node through Scorpio. And I haven't quite figured out yet what I'm going to label the transit of the North Node at this point in time through Aries, South Node through Libra. But it's gonna have a lot to do with igniting a spark within the collective of humanity that causes a lot of people to come into their leadership era in, one way or one area or one capacity of their lives or another. So, these are changes that are orienting and gearing us more towards taking back charge of the course of our own experiences in life and reality, and doing what is best for us as an individual, instead of or perhaps sacrificing our own individuality in order to do what is best for the overall whole or the overall group, or to maintain some type of peace or balance. With North Node in Aries, South Node in Libra, this is self versus others, okay? Major themes coming up, and letting go of ways that we have rejected self in order to maintain social graces and balance and stuff like that. And we're gonna be talking all about that. We are just getting started. We are just scratching the surface on this energy. So we're gonna be talking about this frequently for the next year and a half. And as time goes by and our understanding about how this energy that's coming through evolves, we will come to see how these lessons are playing their roles in our lives to help us come to a greater state of self-mastery over this period of time. So all that being said, that's where we're going, that's where we're moving, that's sort of what we're up against or trying to break through to at this period of time. But this weekend generally, I think that we kind of want to buckle down and maintain self-discipline to the greatest extent that we can in our demeanor and in our actions. There's a lot of tension going on this weekend. There's a black moon Mercury alignment, okay? Aside from the fact that we have this grand cross at cardinal signs at 29 degrees playing out. Cardinal signs, to have a grand cross in cardinal signs, this is always going to be something that generates results, because the cardinal signs are the signs that cause things to happen. These are action-oriented signs. The fact that this is happening at 29 degrees and 0 degrees of any sign are some of the most powerful and critical degrees. Well, they are the most powerful and critical degrees of any sign, especially the 29th degree. That can also hold a bit of a crisis-oriented nature to it. And with this grand cross, and a grand cross in and of itself, this is one of the most challenging, but also one of the most powerful aspects in all of astrology. So to have a grand cross, one of the most powerful aspects in all of astrology, and they indicate growth, they indicate breakthroughs, okay? I always view grand crosses personally as the rags to riches aspect. If you look at a lot of people who are self-made, who become very, very successful in their lives, you will see that they have a grand cross in some capacity in their chart. Because what this energy does, it's it puts us in this extremely difficult scenario. But it's but if you can break through that, if you can get yourself out of that, if you can overcome that situation, then the world is yours. The world is your oyster. You're holding, the golden ball of all opportunity in the palm of your hand. Anything is possible for you if you are able to overcome that initial challenge that barely anybody could break out of. You know what I mean? So people that have this energy natally usually end up being some type, if it doesn't get the better of them, if the aspect doesn't break them, and they are able to persevere, overcome, endure, sustain, move through it, they become some of the most powerful, effective, and productive, competent successful people. And that's the gift that this energy is providing us. And we are also, as we are starting this new nodal transit, remember, if you've been following my channel, you guys know that the nodes of the moon just left Taurus and Scorpio. This was a 1.5 year long transit about karmic detox, detaching ourselves from anything that was toxic to us, that we had been attached to or enmeshed with, that was like stealing our power or keeping us blind to like the truth of our value and the truth of our potential, or keep us in a point of like sacrificing aspects or dimensions of ourselves in order to receive some type of like external validation by like the group or whatever, right? And as we are moving into this new energy where the nodes have left Taurus and Scorpio, entered Aries and Libra, Aries a sign of the self, Libra the sign of others. The North Node, this is the destiny point. This is growth. This is the future. This is what we're becoming, what we're evolving into. This is the next like lesson plan as it's unfolding. This is our development. And the South Node, this is karma. This is the past. This is what we're detaching ourselves from. This is what we need to release because it's blocking our ability to grow, to evolve, and to learn these new lessons that are necessary for our development. At this point in time, that's what the nodes of the moon are always representing in our chart, or as they are playing out and affecting us by transit. With the North Node in the sign of Aries, this is a need to develop our character, to develop our personal identity, to develop our own like autonomy and our ability to stand on our own 2 feet and to have courage and to, take risks and to be motivated and to trust ourselves and to gain with Chiron currently right now in the sign of Aries as well, which is a very important component of this Aries North Node transit, which of course we will be talking in depth about throughout the course of this next 1.5 years. Self-mastery, overcoming our weaknesses, overcoming our states of victimhood that have suppressed our identity or our self or our purpose, like allowing ourselves to really gain an authentic connection to ourselves and to start doing and living in ways that is in our best interest, and to stop sacrificing our own personal needs in order to conform to some type of group. The self versus others, the North Node in the sign of Aries, this is personal development, this is character development, this is overcoming, this is confidence building, okay? And what we're releasing is the social constraints that have kept us from recognizing our personal truth and allowing us to like unleash that and let it thrive moving forward. This is the energy where it's like, I cannot take care of others and benefit others to the best extent of my ability if I'm not caring for myself first. This is like, I need to turn my energy inward so that I can become the best, strongest, smartest, most capable and assertive version of myself, because through me doing that, I become so much more effective in whatever I need to do for everybody else. You know what I mean? So that's the difference. It's like, whereas before we may have felt like by minimizing or stifling or holding back dimensions of our own self, our own character, our own needs, we were making other people happy. But this is sort of like the switch and the realization that but that wasn't really real, that was fake. And because I was not being my true and fullest self, I actually couldn't give from my heart my fullest extent to benefit those other people in the way that might actually support them more or make them better or benefit the relationship in some type of a way. So by us making ourselves better, having a more clear idea of who we are and what our purpose is and what our capabilities are, and feeling confident in our ability to assert ourselves, we're actually on the higher octaves of saying, and this is not about selfishness, okay? And that's another thing that we're really gonna need to talk about and get into on a more psychological level as we go through this transit, ego, selfishness, the lower octaves of masculine energy, okay, versus the higher octaves of masculine energy, the difference between the two, and how they're sort of where they can be kind of intertwined or confused with one another, and how to work with the higher dimensions of this energy and not allow the lower dimensions to distort our energy field, as the Aries energy, the Mars energy, the masculine energy is being emphasized over this period of time. The North Node, this is also Rahu and Ketu, known as the head and the tail of the dragon. The North Node is also associated with sort of just this ravishing hunger or appetite or just this sort of like obsessive compulsive need to gain or to grow something, okay, as it is what we need to be. It's you know what we're being called towards, of course, as it is this like destiny energy, but it can sort of be in just kind of like a relentless or yeah, it's like I said, like compulsive or obsessive way. So we are not going to want to allow ourselves to like let these masculine energies, especially in the beginning of this transit, before, you know, we've really worked with these frequencies this time around, to allow us to act out of like our lower nature. Because really that's what this whole transit is about, is kind of conquering our lower nature, coming to a place of self-mastery where we are the effective leader, that is the role model, that is the support, and that is with Chiron there also like the guide and the teacher through our example for others. So we are going to learn to operate and to utilize and to sort of like act out of the higher frequency masculine energies throughout this period of time, but we also need to understand the presence of the lower octave energies and learn to differentiate, okay, between the two. And that's another thing we're going to be talking all about. But getting back into, you know, focusing really on how this is coming together this weekend and what we may need to keep in mind as this energy is coming into fruition, I will say, because of the amount of aspects playing out, and also, you know, we do have the sun. There's a lot of Neptune energy going on as well this weekend. While the sun is in the opposition to Pluto and is in the square to the nodes, giving us this grand cross that really is like the main event, right, of the weekend, even though we've got so much other stuff playing out, and the moon is making a lot of aspects too. The sun will be in a trine to Neptune all weekend. The moon will also be in an opposition to Neptune this weekend. And with all of this energy going on, honestly, like we may consciously sort of experience like a loss of a sense of reality or like a rational reaction to things. And we do have Mars and Saturn in an opposition. That's why I'm saying I feel like we want to kind of just like buckle down and maintain the sense of self-discipline as we are going through this energy in terms of our action, in terms of our demeanor, because people may be a bit all over the place, okay? But I do also think like this is one of those rare moments, rare occasions where universe is like fully in command of everything. Not much is within the realms of our control this weekend, I don't think. Surrendering the burdens, trusting the plan, trusting the process. This should probably be sort of like our go-to mentality and perspective if things feel like they're sort of getting a bit out of control. Things are honestly, I feel like, just sort of out of our hands. We have such an air of like destiny and fate and karma and like universe, the hand of God, really just sort of taking the wheel, steering us in a direction today. Just these powerful universal forces at work, changing the rules of the game that we've been playing, setting the stage, you know, preparing, setting up the dominoes for what is to come next, like preparing the next chain of events that is going to unfold throughout the next year and a half, that is really going to change us, you guys. Like I said, on some fundamental levels, this is life-changing energy, and it's about us taking back charge of ourselves, and it's just about this deep personal transformation that is altering the course of our future. That's what this is. This is also like a shift in timelines. This is breaking up patterns as well. This is like things were on a certain course and on a certain trajectory, but because of this karmic detox process that just came in, and this karmic release and being freed from these karmic contracts and like these generational patterns and stuff like that, like now we're at a point where we're sort of the slates are being wiped clean, and we're being like given this opportunity to really recreate ourselves in a lot of ways. And this is just the point in time where like the way that things had been going, the cycles that had been in effect, the patterns that had been playing out over and over and over again are being broken, and they won't continue to perpetuate. So where it seemed as something was on a certain track or a trajectory and something was going a certain way based on the patterns associated with the past and what always happened before, that is no longer the case. And so it's also kind of like an unpredictable energy. We also have Uranus and Pluto very wrapped up in things. And I will tell you guys, another very big energy that is beginning to activate now. We are beginning to get our toes wet in this energy now, and it's going to be a long transit, and something that we're going to be dealing with throughout the next several months is Uranus in the sign of Taurus about to begin forming a trine to Pluto in the end of Capricorn and going to re-enter the sign of Aquarius. Uranus and Pluto together, and remember, this is Pluto having retrograded out of the sign of Aquarius and going to be going back into Aquarius that is ruled by Uranus. This is going to be like some radical and unexpected transformations that are setting things right in alignment with like authenticity and freedom and organic growth potential that result in some type of massive restoration of internalized worth and self-empowerment in terms of actually like the individual and the collective of humanity. This is some big energy, and I'm actually getting kind of excited about the impact of this Pluto-Uranus trine that we're going to be having come to fruition throughout like the rest of this year and moving into next year. And the reason that I'm bringing that up right now is because it's beginning to activate, and it's being activated by the moon actually this weekend as well on Saturday. While we have this grand cross going on, we also are going to have the moon in the end of Virgo. Honestly, I'll tell you guys, like, I was pretty surprised when I saw that the moon was not going to be in exact alignment with one of the planets or points at the 29 degrees in the cardinal cross for their alignment, because even though the moon, you know, goes through all 12 signs and moves relatively quickly, I feel like the moon just always happens to be wherever it would be packing like the biggest punch whenever there's like some big activation going on. It's like, oh, the moon will be like exactly aligned with one of the planets involved, just like bringing it up like 10 times more. But so I was surprised to see that the moon was not at late 20 degrees of the cardinal signs for the energy on Saturday. But you know where the moon is? The moon is in the end of Virgo, forming a trine to Uranus and Taurus, forming a trine to Pluto retrograde in the sign of Capricorn, and like being like one of the initial sparks, one of the initial activations of this pending Pluto-Uranus trine that is not in exact alignment yet, but is coming. And I mean, Pluto right now is one of those planets that is at 29 degrees of the sign of Capricorn right now, Earth sign, but Uranus is at 23 degrees of the sign of Taurus. So that is we've got only 6 degrees, and Uranus is going to continue to move forward through the sign of Taurus. Pluto is going to move backwards through Capricorn a little bit, but then we'll stop and go direct and head back into Aquarius. And so we're going to have, and again, Aquarius is ruled by Uranus. And so, basically from now moving forward, and especially when the moon is aspecting both Pluto and Uranus, like by trine transiting Virgo, when the moon is transiting Virgo over this next several months while this is coming into fruition, there are likely to be some sudden, very transformative, very revealing things that happen, especially we're dealing in earth signs. So it's like, we've got all of this grand cross energy going on, and we've also got to say, the planets involved in this grand cross, the sun and Pluto. The sun, this is life, right? This is the force that makes all things grow and thrive and come alive. And then Pluto, this is the lord of the underworld. This is power in all of its forms. This is transformation, regeneration, purge, purification, and the nodes of the moon, past and the future, destiny and karma. A major life change, you guys, some type of major transformative life thing, situation, just internal change. Like, that's the thing, like with Pluto and the sun, these could be changes happening on like the deepest levels of our psyche, of our subconscious programming, of like our feeling and emotional nature as well, gaining some type of understanding or illumination or something being highlighted to us or something being revealed to us. One of the key indicators of a Pluto-Sun opposition is some type of revelation. We are shining a light, the brightest light, the sun, the life force, directly into the shadows, directly into the darkness. And then it's like, oh, we're just going to make that an even bigger theme while this is going on, because like I said, we also have Mercury and the black moon ruling those deeper recesses of our psyche and our subconscious programming and our unhealed trauma, and where we react to things, without consciously being aware of it based on triggers that are like activated within us based on this subconscious programming or these unhealed wounds. And whenever we have black moon activated and we go through these black moon shadow side issues, it's ultimately universe trying to actually help us gain some type of an awareness of these deeper, darker aspects to our own nature, because through the light of awareness comes the ability to like integrate, heal, release, transcend, and take our power back. Because we have to realize when we are unaware of our own subconscious nature, of our own subconscious programming, we don't actually have the power over our own consciousness, like over our own circumstances, over our own reality. The power is held by what we don't see, by these subconscious forces within us, by these unhealed wounds within us that cause us to react to things in a certain way without thinking about it, without being aware of it. And as a result, keep us in these cycles and in these patterns and in these enmeshments and in these attachments based in this unhealed trauma or this programming or this reactive nature that we've accumulated or that we've associate ourselves with or something like that. And when we can gain the understanding of our own algorithm and see like, oh, okay, well, this happened to me, when I was little or at this point in time, and it made me feel this way. And then I kind of buried it and I never really thought about it again. But now I'm realizing like every time I'm in this situation, I have this feeling and I have this reaction and I end up messing things up for myself, or I end up sabotaging myself, or I end up feeling horrible after that, or I end up getting myself in bad situations. And why am I doing this? And like even asking that question, like even being able to gain the conscious awareness of a repeating pattern and then walking ourselves back to like the origin of it and then being like, oh, okay. And then it helps us to also like gain a sense of empathy for our own selves and for our own reactions, because we can be like, okay, like, well, that makes sense. Like, that's why I react that way. Like, that's why I have that response, even though this situation has nothing to do with that situation. That's the energy that I've been holding and that I've been harboring within me. And so that is the energy that is replicating itself in my experience as well. And in order to, release myself from that, what steps do I need to take? How do I need to heal my situation now? And again, with the North Node now transiting the sign of Aries and Chiron being there as well, this is helping us to get to know ourselves better, to get a better idea of our own pain, our own wounding, our own trauma, and the impact that that has had on our ability to be our own person and to live our own life and to have our own self-directed conscious reactions to things instead of being emotionally reactive and having no power essentially over our own conscious experience. Okay, so massive and deep transformations being indicated. And again, like this is likely to be something also that maybe is happening under the surface of things, because we are talking about this Pluto energy and maybe we won't even be conscious of it, but when we look back we will realize like, okay, I didn't realize it at the time, but that actually was when things started to change or shift within me somehow that led to this greater transformation that I am now consciously aware of. It could also play out like that. So, big things are happening. And like I said, we are dealing with both an opposition between Mars and Saturn, the great malefics, and this grand cross and cardinal signs at 29 degrees. Both of these two aspects are hands down some of the most challenging aspects in all of astrology. I've been calling this grand cross sort of like our entrance exams into this new lesson plan, this new phase of growth that we have going on with the nodes starting their transit of Aries and Libra. Because of the challenging nature presented by the energy as we are starting this transit. It's not just that the nodes are starting a new sign, moving into a new sign, but the way that they're doing it in exact cardinal square to Pluto retrograde at 29 degrees, and then also the sun there. Like, it doesn't get more transformative or life-changing than this, and people could be feeling very emotionally touchy, again, like I said, as a result, having a problem maybe like wrapping their head around reality, like having realistic or practical or logical reactions to things in this energy. And on Friday, with the moon in Virgo, coming into conjunction with Mars, who is in exact opposition to Saturn, while we have this grand cross energy coming into fruition the following day on Saturday, like, people could just be, again, we're going to want to proceed with caution. We're not going to want to poke any bears. We're not going to want to stir up any drama. Please don't do that. That's not going to go well. We want to keep to ourselves. We want to buckle down. We want to focus on our own goals and what we're working towards and our own future at this point in time. And we really want to try to not interfere with anybody else's process in this energy as much as possible. People are also likely to be, especially in the energy on Friday with the moon conjuncting Mars, opposite Saturn, Virgo, Pisces, hypercritical, okay? Hypercritical, hyperjudgmental of specifically themselves and also others. This is energy where we are likely to be sort of measuring ourselves up against our own expectations. Where have we fallen short? Where have we not lived up to our own expectations at this point in time? And there's probably, you know, something also that is kind of stirring, irritating, frustrating us internally, but also like lighting a fire to try harder, to do better, to, you know, work harder in some capacity as well. This could also, though, have to do with like rules or authority figures or bosses, arguments, fights, again, opposition from higher ups. With Saturn and Mars, this is also presenting a polarization between masculine forces, old and young. So don't be surprised if there are arguments, fights, contests, battles, power struggles playing out specifically between like father and son, or like parent and child, teacher and student, like coach and athlete, you know what I mean? Or like master and apprentice, like general and soldier, you know, just like any of those type of things where there's like an older version that's like the teacher and like a younger version that's like the active one in the process, coming up against each other, power struggles between the two. This could also be something that is really coming through in this energy. Suppressed anger, will, and passion, rage perhaps also could also be coming out. This could also be some very heated emotions that are sort of boiling over or coming out in this energy. We have Saturn retrograding. So whereas Saturn usually contains, limits, you know, restrains, holds things back, controls things, this energy is not functioning that same way. So where we may have controlled our anger or controlled our feelings about something or controlled our will or controlled our passion or controlled our motivation or our desire to, you know, do something new in some capacity, we may find ourselves not having those same restraints or limitations this weekend, and everything sort of kind of like all spilling out. This does, though, I will say, the great malefic, Saturn and Mars, in an exact opposition to each other. On one hand, this does balance things out. Saturn is cold. Saturn is frigid. Saturn is rigid. Okay, Saturn is like stagnancy. Mars is heat. Mars is fire. Mars is anger and passion. They're essentially like the exactly oppositional forces that, taken to extremes, can both have kind of like an evil connotation, okay? But when they are in an opposition, or a destructive connotation, but when they are in an opposition to each other on one level, this actually can mitigate the maleficness potential of both of them. So there is a bit of a mitigating factor that this energy can produce as well, and it does bring balance on one level. And if we are using this energy properly, it does provide structure and discipline for the willful use of our energy. So if we're using this energy well, if we're practicing self-discipline, if we are using our energy to work towards something that's in alignment with like our authenticity and integrity, and that we are like really like concentrating and focusing our effort on, this can produce some very, very good, solid, long-lasting results. So this is great energy actually for anything that requires will and requires perseverance, as long as we're not sort of letting the negative tendencies that can also be presented get the best of us. And it can, like I said, can keep things from getting either too heated and out of control, or too rigid and stagnant, as well as these forces sort of like neither can function to their full capacity of causing issues when they are both coming up against each other. Breaking down boundaries though between our true selves and our old beliefs about ourselves. And I actually I find it so interesting that as we have the nodes beginning their transit of Aries and Libra and coming into this grand cardinal cross, we have the ruler of the North Node, Aries, Mars, in an exact opposition to Saturn, which again holds things, limits them, and pulls them back, controls them. But with Saturn retrograde, this is also not doing that to the same extent that it normally would, but it is also Saturn there. So it's like, that's what I'm saying, like these entrance exams, like we've got to pass some tests before we can move forward towards this rebirth or this fresh start or whatever we're, new beginning we're moving towards now, like unrestrained. Okay, so it's just so interesting how they're all in such exact alignment happening simultaneously. This energy is redefining our personal identity and calling for accountability and lifestyle change. That's another dynamic of this energy. I talked a lot about it yesterday. I talked a lot on Wednesday also about this energy that we have coming through in this Mars-Saturn opposition. So if you want even more information about the Mars-Saturn opposition, you may want to check that video as well, because there was a lot that I went into about that energy in there. And also actually in the video before that, in my new moon in Cancer video, I talked about the Mars-Saturn opposition as well. But another dimension of this energy is it is rule-breaking energy. What rules do I need to break to better serve my own well-being? And that does also really, I feel like, line up with the lesson plan of North Node in Aries, South Node in Libra. I've been trying to think of examples of how, common examples of how this energy is playing out. And this is one that keeps coming to top of mind, just to give you guys an idea of how this energy might be manifesting, is in terms of what people are eating and diet and stuff, in the context of a group or in the context of a family, because we're talking about Mars in the sign of Virgo. This is requiring lifestyle changes based on the personal transformations that we're going on now. Changes to habits, changes to routines, changes to diet and nutrition and lifestyle, putting our energy into taking better care of ourselves, taking more self-accountability, self-responsibility in terms of our own well-being and stuff like that. That is definitely another element of what is being required in order to overcome the challenges that are presenting right now. But I feel like a good example of this might be just coming to a point that's maybe been building up gradually over time, but no longer being able to participate in common family dinners or something like that. Let's say every Sunday or something, your family gets together and has this huge meal, and it's just you love it and you love your family and you love the happiness that it brings and all of that, but you realize every time after you eat that meal you feel heavy and you don't feel good, and you get depressed, and it takes you a long time to recover, and you've just been realizing over time I need to I don't know if this is good for me. I don't want to upset anybody. I don't want to make anybody feel like I'm, too good, or they're this isn't good enough for me or something like that. And I don't want to make anyone feel bad, but this just isn't good for me. I cannot eat this anymore. And I have to do what, is good for me and is good for my body. And I'm really sorry if it hurts your feelings, but I have to do what is best for me. That is kind of in small ways to larger ways. I feel that is kind of the way that this energy is going to be playing out. I feel that is kind of representing a lot of the challenges that we might be facing over this period of time, needing to break away from what is expected of us in terms of some type of group consciousness or group cohesion. Remember, Libra is also an air sign, so this is the group mind. Okay, this is needing to separate ourselves from the group mind or the group cohesion, or the group traditions and norms, because it just is not good for us. It's hurting our own personal life force. And it's not to be mean, it's not to be, it's nothing bad about any of that. And that's, I feel what we're gonna have to learn to balance is not allowing the potential of hurting someone's feelings to interfere with our ability to take care of ourselves. And on the flip side of that, you guys, the flip side of that is people being less sensitive. People also need to learn that we can't expect somebody else to live their life in our parameters. You know, if somebody doesn't want to, you know, eat this food that I'm cooking because it disagrees with them, or it doesn't benefit them, or it, you know, it's detrimental to their own physical well-being in some type of way, I don't need to choose to be upset about that. If I love that person, then their choices in alignment with what's best for them to be healthier, to be stronger, to be happier should also be what I'm supportive of. And why would I allow their rejection of perhaps what I've provided that is not in alignment with what is best for them to be a source of like pain for me? Right? And even though, you know, that's also going to be a tough adjustment for people, learning to not allow, you know, our feelings to be hurt to the same level if somebody makes a different choice than us that maybe has always been in alignment with us. That's sort of like the flip side of the challenges that we're going to be facing. But that's, I feel like, sort of the overall nature of where we're moving as this energy unfolds. And again, sort of what we might be up against now. Again, sort of like the old and the new, like the tradition and the like progressive, or what's innovative right now, or, you know, the what is truly in alignment with me. This is Aries emphasis, this is Mars emphasis, this is about the self, and it's also about the body, it's about the physical presence. So we've got that. What rules do I need to break to better serve my own well-being? That's, I feel like, what we can boil that down to. Rebelling, revolting, fighting back against controllers. Old systems of power and control are unraveling simultaneously. We also know that because we have Pluto at 29 degrees of the sign of Cancer right now, of course, in the opposition to the sun, of course, in this Grand Cross, and this weekend also in a trine to Uranus. Uranus brings the new. Uranus is the great rectifier, the great fixer. Uranus puts things back on track in alignment with authentic and proper growth and potential. It's also about, you know, great awakening. So revelations and awakenings about who we truly are and what we truly need to be more physically present or successful or vital in our own experience. As a result, perhaps having to come up against some fierce opposition that would prefer things to not be that way and would prefer to remain in the past versions of reality. On Friday, we have, like I said, the sun in both a trine to Neptune and an opposition to Pluto. Strong water energy, strong water themes going on all week. There could be a larger than normal presence of things having to do with water that are like immersing themselves in our consciousness somehow. This could also, again, be bringing some powerful feelings, powerful emotions. With the sun and Pluto in opposition, this is also powerful encounters and experiences, very strong intuition, very heightened spiritual connection. We may also, again, feel sort of like zoning out of reality, or sort of like out of touch with like reality, or just like too much going on some level, okay? But these very, very powerful encounters and experiences are likely to characterize a lot of what we're going through. Things happening that are deeply revealing, deeply transformative, ultimately life-changing somehow, very strong, significant on self versus others, something that we could really be dealing with. Themes coming through all weekend. Let's talk about Sabian symbols for a minute, you guys. I don't even know what to say sometimes when I see the symbolism that comes out in association with the aspects and the transits as they are happening. This Grand Cross and Cardinal signs coming that we have on Saturday exact, 29 degrees. 29 degrees of Cancer, where the sun is, a daughter of the American Revolution. 29 degrees of Capricorn, where Pluto is, a secret meeting of men responsible for world affairs. 29 degrees of Aries, where the North Node is, the music of the spheres. And I will tell you guys something about the energy right now as the North Node transits this 29th degree, the last degree of the sign of Aries, could be hearkening back to the year of 2015. 2015, we had our new moon at 29 degrees of Aries, the music of the spheres. The changes coming into fruition now, or the shift in power that's happening now, could have started honestly around in 2015-ish, and that year could be significant somehow in what is playing out now. but I just wanted to mention that because I remember specifically the music of the spheres was a critical new moon that we had in 2015. And we've got that degree coming back around now with the North Node. And then the South Node at 29 degrees of Libra, mankind's vast, enduring effort for knowledge transferable from generation to generation. So we've got a daughter of the American Revolution. This is a personal revolution. This is us taking back power from, again, like maybe the subconscious forces that used to really have a dominant role over our conscious experiences going forward. This is us coming back into a place of personal power. Pluto, a secret meeting of men responsible for world affairs. This is what is breaking down. Any external form of power or control that held sway or influence over our own personhood in the past, this is what we're rebelling against. This is where the revolution is happening, and this is what we're taking back power from. The music of the spheres, to me, that is definitely referring to the symphony of the planets and the cosmic blueprint as it unfolds, happening in divine timing according to the universal symphony in our transition into the age of Aquarius. South Node, mankind's vast enduring effort for knowledge transferable from generation to generation. This is what we're releasing. This is what we're letting go of. The mindsets, the beliefs, the understanding, the groupthink from the past that has held us back, that has kept us trapped in a state of powerlessness as we become the daughter of the American Revolution and redesign our reality, you guys. Take back power, redesign our reality based on the truth of our own personal identity and how we can be the best version of ourselves moving forward. So I feel like those specific degrees are very, very powerful. And we have another degree that we need to talk about. And I love this too. I do believe that this energy this weekend is totally giving like Little Mermaid vibes. And we have Venus who's stationing retrograde. That's another thing. There's so much to talk about. Like, this report could literally go on for hours, and I would feel like I didn't flesh out all of the details that are coming together to paint this whole picture. But we have Venus stationing retrograde on Saturday as well at 28 degrees of Leo. That Sabian symbol is a mermaid emerging from the ocean waves, ready for rebirth in human form. I feel like that is literally characteristic of everything that is playing out energetically right now. We're emerging from the age of Pisces. We're coming out of the realms of the water. We're coming out of where we all schooled together based on a need to be in alignment with the feelings of everybody else in this water feeling based emotional energy. We're coming out into the air. We're emerging into the age of Aquarius, ready for rebirth in human form. The North Node moving the sign of Aries, this critical moment of change, this cardinal cross at 29 degrees with the sun and Pluto. It's paradigm changing, it's life changing. We're becoming a different person, literally from the point of changing from a mermaid into a human in alignment with who we have always truly been meant to be. So it really does sort of bring up the themes associated with the Little Mermaid and it being a whole new world, moving from one reality where, we thought that was the world that defined us, and we realized no, I can actually have legs. I can actually stand on my own 2 feet and move myself forward, whether or not, everybody that I've ever known or associated with, or, my family or friends or whatever from the past, wants to come with me. So I feel like that is really powerful too. And Venus going retrograde while we have a South Node in Libra, like I've been talking about the rest of this summer, there's likely to be super emphasis going on the past relationships, past connections, unfinished business, lack of closure, people coming back, loose ends sort of being tied up. This could also have to do with anywhere where there has been a lack of balance or a lack of peace or a lack of harmony that has just been sort of lingering out there, resolving this somehow. Also, this is changing desires, changing preferences, reevaluating what it is that we truly want, who it is that we really want to connect to, who we want to relate to, the groups and the social situations that we want to allow ourselves to be defined by moving forward as we are redefining our own personal identity. It's like that. So I feel like a lot of people are sort of going to be flying solo perhaps, maybe in some very unexpected ways, or just really reconnecting to themselves. And again, having to come to a point where doing what is in the best interest of my own well-being is more important than sacrificing what I know is in my best interest in order to avoid like hurting somebody else's feelings. Because remember, if that person really loves you, if that person really truly cares about you as a person, then that person will want you to make choices that are in your best interest, regardless of whether or not that means participating in whatever they have going on or not, okay? And that is something that we need to keep in mind. I feel like keeping that frame of mind will help as we go through some of the challenges that could be presented in this energy. Also, another thing that we have playing out, like I said, and I haven't even really mentioned this much, it's funny how things that would normally be relevant, like Mercury and the Black Moon in exact conjunction, have so much less relevance in the context of a grand cardinal cross at 29 degrees and Venus retrograde. They're kind of stealing the show, but we do have Mercury and the Black Moon in a conjunction. This is definitely probably like triggering some shadow side issues. It could have us like really kind of like staring into the depths of our own darkness, but we are also probably gaining an understanding or gaining an awareness on some level of our own subconscious shadow side issues, especially with the Sun and Pluto in opposition as well. The Sun and Pluto in opposition is going to do a lot of the same things as Mercury, the mind, and the Black Moon, our shadow sides, in a conjunction as well. Now, one interesting thing about the Mercury Black Moon conjunction, aside from the fact that the mind, what we're talking about, and our shadow side issues are in alignment, is that they are also in basically an exact square to Uranus. Uranus is the great awakener. As I said, this is also another indication of gaining some type of like sudden insight or awareness or like some type of sudden mental awakening or understanding into the depth of our own issues, what we need to do to heal, fix, resolve in order to move forward. And I'm telling you, a lot of it's going to have to do with not conforming to groupthink and doing what is in our own personal best interest on some level. So we've got that going on as well. Also, another thing, Mercury and the Black Moon in conjunction, also in a trine to Chiron and Aries. So that configuration this weekend that is also exact is both squaring Uranus and trining Chiron. So actually there's like a very powerful healing influence that is coming through the awareness that we do gain that is trying to help us release ourselves from states of victimhood and come into a greater alignment with our own state of self-mastery, which is the hero's journey that we are on throughout the next year and a half. So cheers to that. And then of course we've got Venus retrograde. It's so funny because she does retrograde in almost an exact trine to the north node, sextile to the south node. So there is this universal energy powerfully transforming our life force, our focus in relation to destiny and karma, bringing closure and closure to unfinished business. Okay, the Venus retrograde energy, what we are detaching ourselves from, what we are unorienting ourselves from, is also very much in alignment with who we are on a journey to become at this point in time as well. This energy is, as I've stated, extremely revealing. It calls for sweeping, fundamental change in relation to the revelations that we gain, an ultimate turning point, fierce, intense, and powerful opposition that needs to be overcome. Protect yourself, protect your ambitions during this period of time. Like I said, this is not the energy where you want to be putting it all out there. This is not the energy where you want to be getting in other people's businesses. This is not the energy where you necessarily want to be like super like self-promoting or like interfering with other people's processes. This is the energy where you kind of want to put your nose to the grindstone, stay focused, stay self-contained to some extent, and work on healing the issues. Work on the issues, stay future focused, and figure out what it is that is still like keeping, or if there is something that is still keeping us detached from what we know we need to do for ourselves in some level, and also considering perhaps the lifestyle changes that need to be made right now as well. Making smart choices is really going to benefit us this weekend. We do not want to be taking foolish risks. That's definitely a red flag in this energy. Like I said, you know, poking bears and taking foolish risks, which poking bears would be one of those. With Saturn and Mars in opposition, and also the Sun and Pluto in opposition, both of these aspects can be about getting a smackdown from authority if we are not doing things properly. So we don't want to be just ridiculous and flying off the handle. We don't want to be too reckless or rash or impulsive or taking foolish risks. We don't want to be too hyper reactive about things, although, like I said, some things may just be coming out in this energy as well. On Sunday, the sun will enter the sign of Leo. So that's another thing we have going on this weekend. Not only do we have like the most of everything going on, but we also have the sun changing signs, entering the sign of Leo. The first degree of Leo, under emotional stress, blood rushes to a man's head, right in alignment with everything else we've got going on this weekend. We don't want to allow ourselves to be, again, too hot-headed. On Sunday, we will also have Mercury and Uranus in an exact square, and the moon will have entered Libra and will begin activating the south node of the moon. Expect the unexpected for sure on Sunday. Tensions are probably running quite high. Nervous tension and anxiety, a sense of electricity in the air may also be sort of a thing that we are noticing. People acting and saying strange or unusual or out of the ordinary things just generally happening that are strange or unusual or out of the ordinary, finding ourselves in situations or circumstances that are not typically, like, not part of like our typical routine. Things also could be not going according to plan. Shocks, surprises, sudden changes to plans could definitely be happening on Sunday. And there could be, I would say, of the 3 days, Sunday, there's probably likely to be more of a social element to the day that is also, though, on some level showing us what we cannot relate to anymore, what we cannot connect to, what doesn't resonate with us, and what we no longer want. When we have the moon transiting the sign of Libra, from now through the rest of the South Node transit through the sign of Libra, I feel like it's going to really be showing us what does not resonate with us anymore on like a social level, and like what is just like not in alignment with our current preferences. And I feel like this is going to be a time of each month where we're sort of like making changes to our social situations on some level. So all that being said, you guys, that's everything I have to say. Oh my gosh, this has been such a long one, but like I said, like I don't even feel like I covered everything. But I need to stop talking now because that's so much. We've covered enough. Let's grab a synchronicity card now. God, Spirit, Universe, what guidance or advice do we need this weekend to keep us on track as we go through all that's coming in? What do we need to know? What will benefit us? What will help us? Oh, and the first card that jumped out of the deck says no. So I'm going to grab another one since it just says no. But if there is something that, you know, you're kind of pondering about or wondering if you just take action on or something like in this moment, that could be some validation for you. But let's get one more to see what would benefit us to know. What guidance should we keep in mind? You are protected. Exactly. So whatever we're up against this weekend, you guys, whatever's playing out, like I said, it's like the universe has the reins this weekend. Really, honestly, not too much is in our control besides our own reactions to things. And so we need to keep in mind we are protected through this process. For he shall give his angels charge over you to keep you in all your ways. Psalms 91:11. Know your guardian angel is with you always, protecting you from harm. Be assured he keeps you safe. When fear overwhelms you, read the 91st Psalm in its entirety and rest in the assurance you are protected. Remember, we do have a very, very strong spiritual influence, guiding force, guiding light with all the Neptune energy. Both the sun and moon are aspecting Neptune this weekend. And, you know, like I always say, when we deal with these situations, you know, where we really might be like up against a wall or dealing with some big challenges, a lot of times, you know, when you're boxed in, the only way out is up. And this, you know, this guidance is telling us to rest assured in the fact that we are protected regardless of how things look, regardless of how they seem, regardless of what we're up against this weekend. Like, universe has the reins and we're protected through this process. Things are moving forward in a way that is ultimately going to lead to our personal betterment and our well-being. So you are protected. No worries, you guys. No fears. This is actually about conquering fears and finding our own internal strength. So we're doing that. Thank you guys so much for watching. If you're with me still at the end of this video, thank you so much. I really appreciate all of you. If you guys liked this video, please give me a thumbs up, subscribe to my channel, share it with your friends if you think that they would also like this kind of astrology, be into this type of thing as well. I have a Facebook group, a Facebook page, Instagram in my description box below. I post these whiteboards in my Facebook group if you are interested in seeing what those say. That's where you can find those. I can't even, this video is so long, I can't even remember if I said all the stuff that I've been needing to say. Subscribe to my channel if you haven't already, if you like this type of content and want to keep seeing more of it. Leave me comments, you guys. I honestly, seriously, like, you guys are everything. I appreciate you so much. If you're having experiences that line up with what I'm talking about, please let me know in the description box below. I really value knowing how this energy is playing out, like literally out there in the world. So thank you guys for your presence here so much, and come back with me next time, you guys. I will, this upcoming week is a pretty busy astrology week as well, I do believe. Let's see, what do I have in my notes? The 24th, the 25th. Our next big day is the 29th. Mercury's going to be entering Virgo. We got some stuff going on there. And the 31st. So we do cool down a bit next week, but we still got lots of big energy to talk about. We are still in some pretty epic astrology times, you guys. So I will be here on Monday with more astrology, narrating the shift of the ages. You should be here too. You don't want to miss it. I will see you then, guys. Have a beautiful, beautiful weekend. And until next time, bye.